Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Oberlin Executive Speakers Series. This is the 6th in our ongoing series, and this session's kind of special because it's kind of hard to beat pizza and video games. So today we're here to talk with a very special game developer in the indie development community on Steam about his new pioneering game, which is a 2D Tetris-style anime game to teach children higher education math, as well as a lot of the basic building blocks of math: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Simple stuff for my OBs, right? Big shout out to the 118ers out there. And then we have a lot of continued attendees. I'm really, really proud to see that you guys keep coming. Big thanks to Ted Evans. Just quick introduction. My name is Doug Younger. To the uninitiated, I am teaching Business 118, which is digital marketing and innovation. And I'm the host of this series that is actually still ongoing online and streaming on twistoffatepodcast.com. Today, I'm really excited to introduce the lead developer, entrepreneur, and founder of ArcFi development team out in Bay Area, Dennis Huang, who is a client of my company, 3 Steps Forward. And today we're going to talk a lot about what it's like to develop a software video game. So Dennis, hey, welcome to the Oberlin Executive Speaker Series.
Thanks for having me, Doug. And hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. It's great to see you all.
Okay, so Dennis, you're joining from Silicon Valley, Bay Area. You're a Google executive. Let's talk a little bit more about your experience as a developer of an indie video game. So maybe we start first of the problem you want to solve is to teach children math. So maybe and to help parents and others along the way. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about what Times Trials is and what your vision for the future, what you're trying to do with it.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head there. It's a Tetris-style anime puzzle game. It's just kind of lighthearted fun, a casual game to help teach people math. I think the unique selling point of it is indeed that it is a competitive game. So while you're trying to best your friend, you're learning math at the same time, and that really hasn't happened too much in the educational world. So I know esports is a thing, and it's growing every day, especially with younger kids. So this is the right opportunity to do such a thing.
Dennis, in layman's terms, competitive gaming is PvP, right? And I could tell you, a lot of those here don't know, my mother was an educator and my father was a business person. So as a child, I would have loved to test my chops in math against some other people. So why don't we talk a little bit about, right now, it's a demo on Steam, correct?
Yeah, that's right. You can play it on Steam. You could also play it on itch. It's online. Go to timestrials.com. The demo is there. So yeah, can be accessed by a web browser, so anyone can play it.
So my understanding, Dennis, the goals that again, one of the themes of this series is how we're going to make the world better. And obviously, underrepresented populations or populations that struggle with, math competency tests or standardized testing. Your theory is if we teach them math earlier in a funner way, they can be more engaged. So maybe could you talk a little bit about like how this could be an aid to teachers or parents?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can play it at home. You can play it at school because it's at a web browser. So it's widely accessible. And I think you nailed it on the head there that, it is fun and engaging. And there is that unique twist of PvP. So yeah, I think with that, it helps teach math. We do align with many of the Common Core, especially for the younger grades, in terms of like addition and multiplication. So we got our bases covered.
One thing that I've noticed, you've added a charm that is dear to my heart. Like You should know last week in my 118 class, we did an interactive game called the Leadership Crest. And one of the rounds was an anime round where we took Crunchyroll versus Funimation, which are big anime providers. And I think that is a nod to Asian culture, Japanese culture. And your game, in terms of the music as well as the character art, is a nod at this. So could you talk a little bit how you captured that feel and why that mattered to you?
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, after all, I am Asian and I grew up with all these things. Dragon Ball Z was my favorite growing up. I wanted to bring that forward as a kind of a personal touch for the game. But also, I think anime is taking off and gaining popularity for everybody. So I figured this would be a widely accessible thing for many young students.
And then what anime inspirations are in it? So could you talk about your characters and the music and stuff?
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, my characters are based uh mostly on the anime games. So if you know like pop and music, the rhythm games, and Puyo Puyo, it's kind of like that. So Puyo Puyo is also a puzzle game, and funnily enough, I do have one of the composers making the music for these style of games. So my composer Osamu, yeah, he worked really closely with Konami and has done rhythm games and puzzle and actually RPG games. So this feels like a match made in heaven for my game.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I don't know if there's some Dragon Ball Z fans and stuff like that, but I'm a huge anime and actually a big gamer myself. So when I saw you um, go on Steam, I have to say, as a gamer, you probably are pretty proud to, even in the development cycle, to be listed on Steam, right? Like that's a major accomplishment.
Oh, of course, yeah. And there's stats and everything, and I get to see like all the views, and I'm just watching it every day. I'm like, yes, one more person is following my game, and that makes me happy.
Good to hear. Now, Dennis, maybe we can talk and transition a little bit into how this is going to really relate to the Oberlin community. A lot of students, there is a computer science department here. There is also a lot of artists and sculptors, at least in my class. Could you talk a little bit about, like, for you, you have a day job and you're a developer, so you're and an artist to some extent. Um, what skills or what hard and soft skills do you think really helped you to make a video game? Like so that the students can think about what skills they want to build now.
Oh, for sure. Well, yeah, games are art, but they're also technical. It's really cool. So the reason why I got into game development is because I got to do everything and do art, do programming, and kind of dabble in a lot of the skills there. Yeah. And I like to think of myself as a jack of all trades, and that's what makes it a match for me. In terms of soft skills, I would say like, yeah, openness and empathy would be a big one. Because when you're showing your game to people, some people would get frustrated with the controls or they don't know exactly what's going on with it. So taking that as feedback and not judging it and knowing that this is part of the process is a big thing, especially when you're user testing and trying to figure out what is the best UI for the game and so forth.
Excellent. And to extend a little further, you mentioned people getting frustrated with controls, which is it's the theme of actually my class we're talking about tonight is human-centric design, or you know a lot of the user interface, human factors, like trying to learn how people use things. Now, did you incorporate playtesting in the development of your game? And could you talk about that?
Oh yeah, play testing is probably number one. You're play testing it with yourself first of all to what they call in the industry finding the fun. So if your game is, you know, even fun at all, you want to know that early. In addition, you also want to get it in front of other people as early as possible, just so you know whether your game is fun for others. And sometimes that's kind of tricky. Um, yeah, so playtesting, even Valve, the biggest company that makes like Steam and Half-Life, one of their core tenets is to do playtesting often and just taking in the feedback. It's like it's almost like you're in you have that white trench coat, you know, or a white lab coat, and you're just observing subjects and you're taking notes, saying like, oh, they pressed the up button instead of the down button. Why'd they do that? And so you're trying to kind of be like an investigator. It's its own fun.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I think another pivot for you is you're not just a game developer for ArcFi, you have to be an entrepreneur, right? Like a lot of the discussions you and I have are related to how do you fund it? How do you, you know, if the, you know, we just had a class about starting a business, and one of the things I told the students is nothing happens unless you have working capital, and that's one of the big challenges, even that we've ran into. So, you know, how has that been? You know, this is you're a first time entrepreneur as well. Like, how does building a business around a video game? How's that gone for you?
Oh yeah, um, yeah. It's it's a dream. um, and yeah, you're right about the capital. So what I've got going on is I'm crowdfunding, um, and just being able to do this, get in front of people. Um, I was also going around for grants as well, because this is an educational game, so there's a lot of funding opportunities within the government too. So just exploring those avenues has been pretty fun. I'm going to conferences and so forth just to see how to do it.
What conferences in gaming and in the education industry have you gone to? Because I think for a lot of the students, what they don't realize is they get student discounts to attend a lot of these developer conferences, or like things that would be a hobby. They don't realize, like, right now they could use their student status to get in on discount tickets.
Oh yeah, for sure. Specifically in games and education, Games for Change has been huge, and then they're in New York. Um, yeah, they're they're a great bunch. You get to see other students, educators, teachers, and just the whole mix. Talking about games. So yeah, that's great. And then also the Ed Games Expo, and that's in Washington D.C. That's funded by the Department of Education, hosted by them. So what better place to look for educational games and meet like-minded people there too.
Now you have a really big trade show in video games coming up, which is GDC, or Game Developer Conference, back in San Francisco, correct?
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, it's only yeah, I forgot about it. It's only the biggest conference in the world for gaming. Yeah, that thing.
So you're going to have a booth there. Why don't you talk about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna be showing my game at Games GDC Game Developers Conference. Uh, there's a lot going on. So they have an expo floor, the official ones, but I'll be off to the sides with the side events. There's a lot of after parties and just things in general hosted by other companies. And so I'll be attending most of those and showing my game where I can. Sometimes it's like in a bar, sometimes it's yeah, a proper venue where we have a table. So I guess there's always opportunity, not just like the main event. So just being open to everything is the way to go here.
I'm kind of breaking the fourth wall and jumping in the fray here. You guys don't know, in my career, I've attended 6 Comic Cons, 3 in New York, 3 in San Diego. I was there in Hall H when Batman vs Superman was announced, and Henry Cavill walks right by, and Ben Affleck walks by. If you go on my Facebook page, you'll see a lot of these photos. My comment to all of you, I strongly recommend leverage your student status. A lot of these conferences have free admissions for students, and they want people that are on track for computer science in different areas. 2 things Dennis mentioned that is key for you. One, these after parties, what he's talking about, and it's fun. It's a fun concept to me because at the Xbox One launch party, David Arquette gave me and my wife his tickets to the Xbox behind the scene party, and that was just bizarre. You'll never know who you'll meet there. And I know a lot of you are artists and talent. You have talent outside of just the classroom. You want to kind of network every day of your life. Another comment that I have is many of these conferences have career centers and they're doing recruitment and hiring at that time. So definitely GDC. Dennis, I wish you a lot of luck at GDC. But I know that that the students could benefit from attending some of these conferences when they get a chance. Now, another thing I want to, you had dropped the word crowdfunding. Dennis, you don't know, my class, their second project is they're actually creating a crowdfunding concept themselves. So I know you're going the Indiegogo route. Do you want to talk a little bit about what your crowdfunding goal is, your pledge goals, how that's all going to work, and when you're announcing?
Yeah, my pledge goal is $2,000, and yeah, I think you all may know that sometimes the funding opportunities are not just for funding. So in this case, this is for the support. This is for the networking. Uh, yeah, there's so much extra added benefit aside from the funding goal that is such a huge benefit to the game itself. Yeah, and we're creating this campaign to align with GDC, since yeah, GDC is a big event, so I'll be showing my game there, so everything fits nicely. And yeah, and finally, the crowdfunding page itself, I I am angling it towards educators, but also gamers. So appealing to that human nature of, hey, there is an actual need to, you know, better the world with educational games, but fun, instead of, say, violent video games that we typically see every day. That's, I think that'll do well for this campaign.
Yeah, something that the students don't know, my company, we're an official partner of Indiegogo. And one of the advantages that, you know, crowdfunding brings is, like Dennis had mentioned, it's not just about raising the dollars. It's about finding the users and audiences and building a community. One of the recommendations from Indiegogo was to set the target low because Indiegogo tends to be for more social and positive causes. And if you reach your target, they'll let you crowdfund on the platform for like 9 months instead of just 30 days, which means that you can raise a lot more money, or what's called overprescribe in your crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is something that I've done a lot of work with. We raised $5.8 million in Series A for a startup called Innovega on the Start Engine Seed Invest platform. I'm strongly recommending to the Oberlin community not to underestimate crowdfunding. One good reason, only 2.4% of venture capital dollar goes to female-led startups and underrepresented startups. First of all, that's abysmal. But my comment is crowdfunding allows the opportunity to democratize access to working capital for startups. By that, I mean, instead of the VCs holding control of the ability to raise money, crowdfunding opens the door for that. So Dennis, thanks for sharing your own experience with it. I'm definitely advocating to a lot of my students, just because you don't have access to capital, you know, I think getting these skills of crowdfunding and what it takes to meet pledge goals and understanding the process is very key. I think it's very key. Okay, so Dennis, one thing I want to talk about is, you know, you had mentioned growing up as an Asian American, and have you faced any adversity, or, you know, in the category of video gaming, you're kind of unique to the category. What is that? You know, have you had some unique lens or unique experiences of adversity growing up, or with the development of the video game?
With the development of the video game, actually, I mean, first all, adversity is everywhere. So, yeah, even being in Asian America, I remember being teased for being Asian. Not specifically around here, but in the Bay Area. But I grew up in the East Coast. I grew up in New York, and yeah, there's always that. And so, I'm no stranger to that kind of adversity. And well, with making the game, yeah, it's a whole unique challenge too. Finding the right people, working with the right people. Yeah, some uh, yeah, sometimes it's not always a good fit with the peers that you align with. So choose your friends carefully, I think, is a good one. Um, and But, the gaming, industry is kind of unique. It brings a lot of, say, misfits and, different types of people, just by nature of what gaming is. I I identify as, neurodivergent, so I have this pocket of people that I closely align with, and, you know, yeah, that's a whole new category of adversity too, where we get kind of picked on for that. So, um, yeah.
Dennis, what do you define as neurodivergent? Could you explain that to the students?
Yeah, neurodivergent is a concept of, well, yeah, people think differently. I like to think that I think differently. Yeah, that's for starters. There's a lot of people who maybe say on the spectrum or have other, say, disabilities, ADHD, OCD, the whole mental health kind of category of things. So, yeah, that definitely applies for neurodivergence. Yeah, not everyone thinks alike, so we celebrate that, but also that gets us, picked on with other neurotypical people as well.
This is great. Now, one of the things, Dennis, you and I have talked about in also not just starting a video game company, but anytime you have a startup, there's an opportunity for accelerators. And, to any of the students who don't know, accelerators are groups of sometimes they're investors, but they're individuals that want to help startups get to the next level. And you know, there's a variety of them that you'll hear about: Y Combinator, 500 Startups, Creative Destruction Labs. Dennis, you're thinking about a few yourself, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Growth Factory is a big one, and um, yeah, they've been very supportive. I like that community in Sacramento where everybody is close knit. So just having the camaraderie as well as the opportunity to have these kinds of investments, um, you know, whether or not the the game gets selected for to be a part of the cohort, that's one thing. But another thing is just the opportunity to meet all these people and the opportunity to get eyes on the project has been a has been a blessing in itself too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just so you guys know, he's referencing Growth Factory. It's a it's a fund started by Mark Haney. It's particularly Sacramento. Dennis went to UC Davis, so that's his connection to that. But one thing that I comment on a lot of entrepreneurs, the cardinal sin of the entrepreneur is that I'll do it myself. It's a lonely path for many. But by joining an accelerator and you join what's called a cohort group, that means that you're going into a program with other startups. And that way you don't do it alone. You get to meet and network with other like-minded entrepreneurs. And Dennis and I, we attended, it was GFX, right?
That's right, Growth Factory Expo.
And you got a lot of connections from that, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a gaming group in Sacramento, and just meeting everybody that's a and seeing people who have a similar journey to myself. Yeah, that's been great.
This is great. One area that I want to go back that we missed, you had mentioned that one of your target audiences that even goes beyond parents for an educational learning game would also be gamers. And I remember you mentioning that your thought process was like speedrunners and like streamers. Maybe you want to elaborate more on how they would use this PvP function or play your game?
Oh yeah. So yeah, attacking the market at all sides. So I'm also in addition to educators and teachers and parents, I'm also getting this in front of hardcore gamers. And oh, the reception from the puzzle game community has been wonderful. They're just hungry for more puzzle games. So and that also includes the speedrunners. So when they see my game, they hover my booth and they're like, "Oh, tell us more about this game." And they even get into the nitty-gritty details like, "Oh, this rotation is just like this version of Tetris. Oh, this is great." So like seeing that excitement, yeah, makes me more confident about getting this in front of just the general puzzle game community. And yeah.
So in terms of where you're going with Times Trials now, you had mentioned you're going to game developer conference. Really, it's like you're coming out announcing you're doing crowdfunding. You are interested in a future Kickstarter at some point and an accelerator. But let's say upon getting all this development resources, what's the process to, of the future? Like, what more do you have to do to get to, where first customers ship?
Oh yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we also have to deliver, right? So we also have to set our nose to the grindstone and get the game done. So there's a lot of that. Once we get our funding, it's just coding away and doing, yeah, just making the game. Uh, and that's everything: art, music, yeah, getting it in front of more people. Yeah, it's great.
So one question on, you had mentioned development or coding, right? So there's a lot of students here that may be in a variety of the liberal arts areas. You're a software developer by training, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I have a CS major.
So what, you know, while they're in college now, what are some of the trends or what are the things you think they should be studying, or what are some of the tracks you feel they should be studying to be competitive in the art? Because nowadays, AI and all this stuff is starting to get into the fray, right?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I think you may know the categories to get into AI and also VR. That's taking off with Apple's device. I think there's a lot more interest in XR in general. So those are the two popular ones. But if you're talking about, say, like everything and creating just the game in general, yeah, having a CS degree is great, but also knowing it's kind of a balance between art and engineering. So yeah, knowing how to create UI, knowing graphic design, knowing art, um, these skills also apply. There's this book that I love. It was made for engineers who don't know art, and it's called Rocket Surgery Made Easy. And that's just a good rundown of how to make a UI as a brainy engineer like myself. And that's been transformative just to see the other side of the world. And yeah, it's good.
That's on Amazon, right, Dennis?
That's on Amazon. Yeah.
I'm sure they could probably get it at the Oberlin Library here. Another question for you is, a lot of my students, we just finished up a project that they had to come up with a idea and they had to film it on their camera somewhere on campus to kind of like it's a pitch, like in a pitch competition. They had to do a
Oh,
pitch,
absolutely.
right? And one of the challenges for some was just selecting, like, I don't know, like what's the idea and what is it in the world they want to fix. So I was curious, like, what was your inspiration for creating Times Trials? Like, what was there? It was, you know, what exactly made you inspired to do it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So never underestimate the personal touch when pitching, right? So the story for myself is that, me and my brother, we're of the older side. We're millennials and Gen Xers, so on that border. And yeah, so we were reminiscing one day about the past, and I'm like, oh wow, look, remember all those cool math games that they had in the library and in school, and uh, we want to. Why don't we try to make a game like that again? And I remember there was this card game that me and my brother used to play a lot. It's like uh, it's like 21, but a little bit more
Are you talking
complicated
about
than that.
Dungeons and Dragons? Are you a D and
No,
D
not
guy?
quite. I am a D&D guy, but, yeah, yeah, actually, and there's a lot of math there too, that's right. The 5d20s,
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
yeah, so being able to do that quickly, yeah, we wanted to bring that forward and be like, "Hey, why don't we just make a math game out of this?" And yeah, that's right, so here we are, a few years later making the game.
While you were coming up in, while you were in college or throughout your even your career at Google, did you ever have a mentor or a sponsor or a person of significance that inspired you? Or is there a person that you really looked up to? I mean, in the game industry, like in my time, like you mentioned VR, Carmack was the guy, right? For was it Doom? He
Oh
did Doom
oh, that's right, yeah, he used to work for, Meta for a while, developing the
on
Oculus.
Oculus. That's right, on Oculus. So is there somebody like that for you that really kind of inspired you?
Oh, there's a ton, and it's not just one singular person. Yeah, first of all, yeah, my brother for helping me come up with the idea and just being a guide through it all. He's my older brother, so I'll always look up to him, you know. And same with my parents. But yeah, just people along the way that just inspire. Like I'm always looking out for the positive people who are also entrepreneurs and like-minded people, and those in themselves are inspirations because there's a bunch. I'm so excited to meet my friends at GDC because there's a bunch of people who are a couple of steps further along the process than I am, and just seeing where they go and how they take it, it's just like, oh, that could be me. That's my inspiration. And
Hmm.
in terms of like technical stuff, yeah, my first boss ever, I'll always be grateful for him for taking the time to mentor me and to train me up in these technical skills in themselves. So yeah, ton of people. And as you know, we have Doug and I have a mutual friend. His name is Jonathan Flowers. He's been a sports coach and also a coach for me. So that, yeah, just everywhere.
Yeah, Jonathan, you all don't know. Yeah, he's a former professional. He was the LA Raiders. He's a former NFL player and very inspiring person. Thanks for sharing that, Dennis. One thing that I think could help the students in understanding the culture around video games. You had mentioned at GDC you're going to go meet up with friends, and I've attended a lot of I'm a member of SFVR, which is the San Francisco Virtual Reality Society, and they had these hackathons where people meet up and do things. What are the kind of places you congregate with like other video game people? I know there's GDC, but you socially you attend other things too. Like what how do they get involved with the culture of gaming?
Yeah, I'm blessed to be here. First of all, California has a ton of communities for game devs. So I'm part of the Bay Area Developers Collective, and yeah, it's just a bunch of us coding away at our respective games. But that community has been incredible. Just us helping each other out, giving ourselves tips, and so forth. But I think you mentioned about hackathons, and I want to actually highlight the importance of this. Yeah, there's a concept called game jams, where over the weekend, a bunch of us just get together and try to make a game together. And this is where the real stuff happens. A ton of games stem from these 24-hour game jams, where they're just crude, rudimentary games, but the concept has like high impact and high interest. And so once we find high impact, high interest games, developing that further into an actual business opportunity is, yeah, that's a thing. And you do this with friends, with people you meet. Uh, if the game doesn't work out, if you don't work together well, then no harm, no foul, because it's only like over a weekend, right? So um, just going for these things, doing this with a variety of people and finding that thing that can stick, that is something to be explored, I would say.
Dennis, are these events virtual? Like, or, how did you get introduced to this group, or how does the OB community even plug into that?
Yeah, it could be anywhere. So these game jams, there's a ton. The Global Game Jam for one is the biggest one. It just passed this year, but that is one of the bigger ones. Ludum Dare is the other biggest one in the world. So they actually have matchmaking systems to let you find other people virtually if you can't find yourself. And but there are actually places where you can jam in person, but I would say that's not as necessary these days. You can just be 100% remote and yeah, find the person you click with. So it's very accessible.
Mhm. Just curious, the 118ers out there, I got a lot of them here today. I'm really proud of you guys. It's good to see you. Um, how many of you out there would you classify yourself as gamer? There's no gamers here. Two?
Oh wow.
Really? Okay. Too busy for gaming, huh? How many of you are interested in contributing to the development of a game in some way? Music, composition, art. Yep. So there's about three, Dennis. And then how many of you are thinking about a future career in the video game industry? Okay, only one. That's okay. That's okay. That's interesting. So Dennis, I think in terms of we've addressed the kind of things of like networking and career. Are there certain developers that really catch your eye that are on the go? I mean, like, you and I have pontificated on, there's StarCraft Blizzard, there's, for me, it's Yacht Club Games for Shovel Knight. That's my favorite indie developer. Are there some companies that you think that you really admire that they should be on the lookout for careers and stuff?
Oh yeah. I personally love Supergiant Games, but they're small. They try to keep to themselves. But if there's ever an opportunity there, I would look into that. That would be my personal dream if I could work with them. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. Maybe this year there's been a bunch of layoffs, but yeah, Blizzard are big ones. Riot has been huge actually. Even for non-gamers, Riot Games, who's done League of Legends, they hire just technical people because uh, believe it or not, there's so much that goes into a game that you might not actually be touching the game itself. Like if you're doing network coding or keeping servers up, for example, that's a completely viable path as, say, like, from a computer science perspective. Or if you're just doing marketing, that's another brand. So there's so much to do outside of the game that people need support for as well. So yeah, even if you're not interested in games, I'd still look into it.
Mm-hmm. Any favorite games out there? You two are gamers. I see you guys all the time. What's favorite games for you guys? 2K, NBA 2K. Yeah, these are the athletes in my crew. I really like them, Dennis. Yeah, they're sports
Oh yeah.
gamers. Any other
Oh
favorite
yeah,
games
EA
out
is
there?
so close around here.
The finals? Okay, yeah, I've heard of that too. But what'd you say, Dennis? EA Games is out. Oh, you look, Dennis, that got you animated. You're playing that too?
Yeah, the finals. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
No,
just
no, I
busting
think
through walls. That's been fun.
no, I think this
I love.
topic's interesting, and the reason I'm going there is that you could see people triggered here. In my class, I talk about what are the triggers that get people excited, and you know, I think gaming is something that blends a very humanistic aspect of, it allows us to come together and to play, and that is a distraction from sometimes the hardships of life. And I think that is a very important place in society, right? To your point, Dennis, math can create anxiety in young people. Maybe not as much as it used to. Like I think you and I have talked about this statistically, a lot of the parental generations, the older generations, math did create anxiety, but nowadays it's not as much. But if you can bring fun into your life, gaming is a way to do it, right, Dennis?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, Dennis, one question I have for you is, irregardless of the Indiegogo, irregardless of your future endeavors, one common question I like to ask a lot of the executives on this series is like, what does victory look like for you? Like, when do you feel you're successful? Obviously, you'd love to become your own independent studio and, be a success in your own right. But like, when do you feel that you achieve success, or maybe you already have because you're already on Steam?
Oh, right, yeah. So in terms of the game itself, this is my first game, so I don't have high expectations of like, oh, I'm going to be a billionaire, uh, my expectations for my game, if I can at least touch one soul out there and if have them highly resonate, if I could have a kid come to me as like, oh, I used to play time trials, yeah, really help me with math, just one, that would be success for me. That's a victory. Because yeah, just being able to bring value and impact people in a meaningful way, that really does it for me. But in terms of like long-term success, I think there's a growing awareness of, well, money is one thing, but being able to do what you want to do and something that makes you happy every day of your life, that's the big W. And yeah, that's it for me. I'm going to prioritize that too.
Fantastic. And I'm a big fan of gamification. I introduced that in my class as a common theme, using games, not digital games, but like interactive games with real people. So I thank you for that, Dennis. What I want to do is open it up to some of the students here. Do you have any questions? I mean, this is a Steam developer, video game developer. Is there any, from your perspective, anything you'd want to know? Yeah, there's a question there.
So I know you said that this game is focused for like elementary and middle schoolers who are learning math, but I feel like I hear a lot of pushback from parents and teachers about incorporating that kind of tech in the classroom. Like, well, why would we not just stick with flashcards and do your timetables and stuff like that? What do you like have to say to that kind of pushback?
Dennis, did you hear the question or you want me to repeat it?
Yeah, could you repeat it, please?
Yeah, so the question was, and this is a good one. A lot of the newer like ed tech or a lot of the new learning games, there's been pushback from parents and teachers in the classroom. Like, why don't we stick with traditional forms of learning math, like flashcards, or multiplication tables? A lot of people, obviously there's like screen anxiety from a lot of parents. So, this could be a barrier to entry for you. So maybe you want to address like, your thoughts on that topic.
Yeah, for sure. And there is a ton of pushback. And a lot of teachers have to have their own curriculum. So there is a challenge in bringing new technologies into the classroom for sure. And especially, well, schools don't really have money. So that's another challenge, trying to convince them. But I'll say this, there is a growing need and a growing usage of technology within the classroom. These days, Chromebooks are everywhere within the class. They have their laptops. We didn't have that growing up, and just having, yeah, this technology is a start to these new opportunities within the classroom. And kids these days, kids these days, they're on the iPads. Yeah, that's a growing trend, knowing how to use an iPad from a start. So it's not just the classroom, it's also tutoring centers, it's also parents. Um, yeah, there is still a way, even though most of us are set in our ways in terms of sticking to an education curriculum.
Yeah, I think thanks for sharing your perspective, Dennis. I have my own 2 cents on that too. I was the pitch judge competition lead in what's called Spark Ventures. It's a Carlson Center of Innovation pitch competition. And of the 4 winners, 2 of them were ed tech companies, and they are developing AI solutions for learning. Now, what you say is real. The pushback is real. But one thing that I think is an opportunity is the pandemic was a huge setback in child development. And what you'll see is when you look at early child development, some of these kids lost a year to 2 years of developmental skills, particularly in math, that I feel, and I'm encouraged for Dennis, and like one of the reasons that I scored these ed tech companies high is that, we need a way to catch up as a country to get these kids back on track. Otherwise, we're going to see a generation come through that will be challenged, and we're aware of it. So I do think that we have to be more fact-based and less emotion-based as parents. I mean, I'm a parent, so I can judge. But I think it's a good point, and it's going to slow down a lot of the adoption of newer technology in higher education. I mean, here's a good example. Like I make fun of my class all the time about ChatGPT-3, right? Like, yeah, how has higher education even embraced ChatGPT-3? I mean, there's pockets of it, right? Like it's decentralized. Some people, absorb it, some people use it, some people don't. But I do think that if we're going to be competitive, I mean, I think we have to address the concern there. Good question. Any other questions? That's a 118er. Any other questions? Okay, well, Dennis, look, my comment is times trials, right? If they want to find it, it's on Steam. They can demo it on timestrials.com as well, right?
Absolutely.
If anybody wants to get in touch with you, networking, or maybe they want to join one of these jams that you're going to, like, how would they get in touch with you, Dennis?
Yeah, so shoot me an email. I'll be at Dennis with 2 N's, Dennis at arcfy, arc-fy.com. So again, that's Dennis at arcfy.com. And or just check me out at timestrials.com. There's ways to get connected with me there too. I got a Discord link there. I have all my socials on there. So just reach out whenever you have any questions.
And then Dennis, you are crowdfunding. So if any of the students or their friends or their parents or the faculty wanted to support you on Indiegogo, how do they get in touch with you there?
Yeah, there's also a link on my website, timestrials.com, or that's times with an S, trials with an S.com. And or you can search me up, Times Trials Indiegogo on Google, and I should show up there too.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Dennis. With that, again, I really appreciate the continued interest and participation from all of you here. Bottom line is we're trying to make not just the world a better place, but the OB community a better place. 1 week at a time, one entrepreneur at a time, one topic at a time. I hope that you're learning a lot, and please, send some feedback. Let us know if we're heading the right direction. Next week, we're actually bringing a senior from Sacramento State who is also the CEO of a new growing social media channel called Buzzly. And I think that's an inspiration for all of you because he's kind of in the same shoes that you're in, but he's also running a company that he was a pitch finalist in an NBA pitch competition that I was the lead judge of called Capitalize. So next Tuesday, I hope to see you back here. Again, big thanks, Ted, for the support in the entrepreneurship department. Thank you for all of you attend, and have a great OB day. All right.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks everyone for joining.
Appreciate you, Dennis. We're back in action, brother.
We're back in action. Yeah. Take care.
Yeah,
Take care,
I'll be
friend.
talking later this week, Dennis. You take care, all right?
Good luck with the next one.
Yeah, yeah. See you, Dennis. Bye-bye.
Yeah.